All right, it is now 10:06. Good morning, everyone. The quarterly meeting of the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council will come to order. Thank you all so much for your attendance. Looking forward to a great meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started with the roll call. Stephanie, can you do that, please?
Yes. Ashley Allen. Pierre Vecchio.
Here.
Melissa Bayham. Here. Brian Bennett.
Here.
Mike Billings.
Here.
Eden Blanchfield.
Here.
Jude Boyson. Elena Satry. Here. Sherry Crane.
I'm here and I'm working on my video just to let y'all know.
William Doyle.
Here.
Jill Hano.
Here.
Landon Hanks.
Here.
Angela Harmon. Cherie Kelly Aduli.
Oh, sorry.
Frank Macaluso.
Here.
Lamar Meta. Pascal Nguyen. Robbie Smith.
Here.
Brooke Stewart. Oh, okay, sorry. Julia Tanner.
This is Brooke Stewart. I'm here. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Brooke. Julia Tanner.
Here, sorry.
Thank you. Eric Taylor. Renata Washington.
Here.
Gary Williams. Aaron Shue.
Here. Thank you, Stephanie.
Renata. Lauren Wells also here.
Sorry, you haven't been appointed yet.
Okay.
And I'm Ashley Bullion. I haven't been appointed yet, but I'm here representing Disability Rights Louisiana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. At this time, we will have Elena read the mission statement and Aiden to read the ground rules.
Our mission statement is to increase independence, self-determination, productivity, integration, and inclusion for Louisianans with developmental disabilities by engaging in advocacy, capacity building, and systems change.
Members must be recognized by the chair before speaking, be respectful of others' opinions, break for 10 minutes every 1.5 hours, discuss council business in a responsible manner, except as necessary, restrict the use of electronic communication, texting during council and committee meetings, silence or turn off all cell phones. Mission statement is posted at every meeting. Be on time for meetings. No alphabets. Side conversations are kept to a minimum, done quietly and restricted to the subject at hand.
Thank you all so much. To ensure the meeting runs smoothly and that we can all participate in an orderly manner, please adhere to the following rules. For council members and members of the public attending in person, please raise your hand to speak and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking. Please keep side conversations to a minimum and comments related to the topic we are discussing. For those council members who are attending virtually, remember you must be on camera and have your first and last name showing to be counted toward our quorum. Please keep microphones muted unless called upon by the chair. Electronically raise your hand to request to speak and wait to be called on by the chair. For attendees, electronically raise your hand to request to speak. Once recognized by the chair, your microphone will be turned on. After speaking, the microphone will be returned to mute. Also, the Q&A is to only be used by those needing an ADA accommodation to participate in the meeting. Public comment will not be accepted via the Q&A except for those individuals who requested the accommodation. As for order, council members in person and virtually will be allowed to speak first. Public members in person will be called on, followed by public virtually who have their hands raised. Comments in the Q&A and chat will be addressed last. As with all hybrid meetings, it can be difficult to keep track of all those wanting to speak in person and virtually, so please be patient. All comments and questions from council members and the public may be limited to 3 minutes or less should we run into time constraints. So please keep that in mind as well. Also, comments about a person's character will not be allowed. Finally, members of the public will have the opportunity to provide public comment before each vote and during designated public comment periods. The chair may also use their discretion to determine if comments will be accepted outside of those times. All participants in person, please be mindful of side conversations. As we are live, your side conversations can be picked up and be distracting to those who are conducting business in the front. All right. So the first item of business is the approval of the meeting summary. A draft of the January 29th meeting summary was exhibited. The summary will not be read unless requested by a member. Are there any corrections? If there's no objection, the meeting summary is approved as distributed. Hearing none, the meeting summary is approved. Okay, the next item of business is the chair's report. All right, our report is on this page. Okay, greetings to all council members. Welcome to our April quarterly meeting. And thank you for your continued commitment to the council. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our new members, Landon Hanks, Julia Tanner, and Ashley Allen. We're glad to have you and look forward to working with you. Executive committee update. The executive committee met on January 28, 2026. The committee reviewed several items related to the council operations and planning, including updates to the 2026 legislative advocacy agenda, discussions of options for the council member retreat, and review of current council meeting schedule. The committee also reviewed and recommended the proposed code of conduct to the full council with revisions and completed the annual executive director evaluation, recommending a 3% salary increase. Some meetings I've attended, Education and Employment Committee and the legislative roundtables for 2026. I want to recognize the LACAN leaders, the Families Helping Families, executive directors, and their staff across all regions, as well as our council staff for their continued work and coordination in these efforts. As we move further into the legislative session in Louisiana, it is important that we remain engaged in advocacy efforts. This includes not only participation in meetings, but also staying informed, reviewing materials shared by staff, and coming prepared for committee discussions. Since we do have new members, I did want to reiterate council member expectations. I want to take a moment to reaffirm those expectations related to council participation and communication. While we all balance multiple responsibilities and deadlines, service on the council includes specific expectations that support effective operations and informed decision-making. The following expectations are essential to fulfilling our responsibilities as council members. Timely responses to emails and requests from council staff and the chair to ensure thoughtful consideration of materials, adherence to deadlines, and adequate preparation for meetings. Consistent attendance and active participation in council and committee meetings, including engagement and discussions and contribution to the work of assigned committees. Preparation for meetings through the review of materials provided in advance to support informed and productive decision-making. Ongoing engagement between meetings by staying informed, following up on assigned tasks, and remaining responsive to council business. Council staff work diligently to support this body, and respecting their time and effort through clear and timely communication is an important part of our shared responsibility. Consistent participation and communication are expected as part of our council service. When expectations are not met, those instances will be addressed and documented as accountability supports the integrity and effectiveness of our work. My goal is to promote clarity, collaboration, and mutual respect as we continue working together. Together, we can ensure that the council operates effectively and continues to serve the community with purpose and impact. Our reflection. Before I close, I want to take a moment for reflection. As chair, I like to take the time to reflect on how I am showing up in this role. And I encourage each of us to do the same, whether new to the council or serving for some time. Reflection helps us remain grounded in our purpose and accountable to the work. So right now, let's quietly repeat each question and take a moment to reflect. This is something that I do personally. Every question is what I ask myself as the chair. Why am I a part of the council? Am I showing up in the way that reflects that purpose? Am I fully meeting the responsibilities of this role? And last but not least, I ask myself, and if not, what needs to change? Each of us was selected to serve in this role. Out of the many who applied for membership and the many others who are committed to this work every day, we were chosen to sit at this table. That carries responsibility and reflects the trust placed in us. So council members, let's keep that in mind as we do the work to support individuals and families with disabilities. Next, we have the executive committee report. And I will read that as well. The executive committee met this morning and discussed 3 items. Update on the 2026 legislative advocacy agenda. The staff gave us an update on the council's 2026 advocacy agenda. The Families Helping Families funding has been added to HB1, the state budget bill by the House Appropriations Committee. The council will be sending out alerts once the budget will be heard in the Senate Finance Committee, so please be on the lookout. An additional $2 million was added to HB1 for LRS by the House Appropriations Committee. That is not the full $6.8 million needed in order to receive all the federal matching funds for our state, but we will continue to advocate for the other $4.8 million needed when the budget will be heard in the Senate Finance. Unfortunately, there has been no additional funding added to HB1 to increase home and community-based waiver rates and direct support pay. However, we will continue to advocate when the budget is heard in Senate Finance. But there were 750 community choices waiver slots added, which is a win for the elderly population. There's interest on the Senate side for additional funding for LRS and the waiver rates and direct support worker pay. LDH feels like they need a little extra information before asking for additional funding. Lastly, Senator McMath's bill, which is SB 34, and Representative Eccles' bill, HB 74, have both passed through committee and waiting for the Judiciary Committee that will create an emergency alert for people with disabilities. This alert will be tied to the level 2 alert called Brian's Call. Under that alert for children and for adults, that there will be a Brian's Call alert for adults. Senator Harris will now work with Senator McMath on SB 34. Representative Eccles is also moving through the legislature, but it only focuses on children with autism instead of all individuals with disabilities. And that is the update on the 2026 legislative advocacy agenda. The other item of discussion, plain language council documents. The committee also reviewed plain language versions of the council's bylaws and policies and procedures. During the last action plan, the council funded an activity to convert the council's bylaws, policies and procedures, and other documents into plain language, as well as language on the new website. The contractor converted the bylaws in a plain language and easy read version. He also converted the policies and procedures into a plain language version. These documents are included in everyone's packet and will take the place of the current approved documents. Lastly, the council meeting schedule. The council tried a new schedule this quarter by having the committee meetings each Wednesday this month, starting April 1st, instead of the Wednesday before the council meeting. Although the schedule was agreed upon last quarter, there have been a lot of concerns expressed. Therefore, the executive director presented the council with the average expenses along with 3 options for the council to consider in order to reduce administrative costs. The council can only utilize 30% of the federal funding on administrative costs. The committee had a great discussion about expenses and the options presented and have a recommendation for the council to consider. This concludes the executive committee report. From the executive committee agenda items and discussion, there are 2 recommendations coming out of the executive committee for the council to consider. I will make those motions after any questions you may have. Are there any questions regarding the update of the 2026 legislative advocacy agenda? Are there any questions regarding the consideration of the plain language council documents? Are there any questions regarding the consideration of the new council meeting schedule? Okay. Since there are no questions, Ebony, can you put the first recommendation from the executive committee on the screen? Because the motion is coming from a committee, it does not require a second. The motion is the executive committee recommends approval of the plain language and easy read versions of the council bylaws and policies and procedures. Is there any discussion from council members? Any public comment? Okay. Are you ready for the question? The Executive Committee recommends approval of the plain language and easy read versions of the council bylaws and policies and procedures. We will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion for the approval of the plain language and the easy read versions of the council bylaws and policies and procedures, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Stephanie, please call the roll.
Miss Allen,
I'm here, yes.
Miss Allen, yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I need you to turn your camera on.
Okay.
And then I'm sorry, I need you to also have your name changed to your
I
first.
had to ask, I'm sorry, I had to ask Julia to send the link over because I couldn't find mine to just be here. So I don't know if I can, mine's listed under Julia Tanner because she sent me her link.
Try to change it on our end.
Usually you can click your link and rename it.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, I didn't want to mess up Julia's sex part, so I didn't want to mess with anything. I was afraid to. Okay, thank you so much for that.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Allen, yes. Dr. Baravecchio,
Yes.
Dr. Baravecchio, yes. Miss Bayham,
Yes.
Miss Bayham, yes. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, yes. Mr. Billings,
Yes.
Mr. Billings, yes. Mr. Blanchkey,
Yes.
Mr. Blanchkey, yes. Mr. Boynton. Miss Sashry,
Yes.
Miss Sashry, yes. Miss Crane,
Yes.
Crane, yes. Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle, yeah. Miss Hano,
Yes.
Miss Hano, yes. Mr. Hanks,
Yes.
Mr. Hanks, yes. Miss Harmon, Miss Kelly Aduli, Mr. Macaluso,
Yes.
Mr. Macaluso, yes. Dr. Meta, Miss Nguyen, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Smith, yes. Miss Stewart,
Yes.
Miss Stewart, yes. Miss Tanner,
Yes.
Miss Tanner, yes. Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, yes. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. And Miss Shu. Yes. We have 18 yeses, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, the yeses have it and the motion is adopted. Ebony, would you put the final recommendation on the screen, please? Because the motion is coming from a committee, it does not require a second. The motion is the executive committee recommending option 2, which is 2 in-person and 2 virtual meetings as the new meeting schedule starting in July 2026. Is there any discussion from council members? The chair recognizes you, Brian.
On the handout, it was in our folder, is that what the blue dates indicate? Those would be-
On the left.
Yeah.
Tentative schedule.
Yeah. Can I get schedule a quarterly council?
No. It's gonna have to be updated,
Okay.
this form here.
Brian, the answer is yes, but as far as which meeting will be in person and which will be virtual for the remaining of the year, I'll have to look at that. My recommendation would be for the October meeting to be in person because at that meeting, you all are approving your new agenda for the 2027 advocacy legislative session. And there's just a lot of votes at the October meeting. So my recommendation to the council will be if you all approve this recommendation and go with option two virtual, two in person, that the July meeting is virtual and the October meeting be in person.
Mr. Brian.
But the dates will stay the same.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Chair recognizes Mr. Lena.
I have a question. Last night I was reading over the options that Ebony had sent us, and is it possible for us to, like, say that if we vote as a whole council that we don't want this, can we choose a different option from those three? Or is it like already set and I'm just trying to understand.
So I can,
Yes.
so we tried recommendation one and there was a lot of concerns like Renata said in the executive committee report. And so we're trying a new option. Well, they recommended a new option to the full council, which was recommendation number 2. So that would be a new recommendation that y'all would try. And again, if you didn't like that option, yeah, we can try the third option. Or you guys are more than welcome to bring in other recommendations that you all have. These are recommendations that I got from other councils that they are utilizing in order to reduce administrative costs. So these are the options that I presented. If you all have any other options that you would like to present to the council for their consideration, you're more than welcome.
And I want to reiterate with the council meeting schedule. One thing that I proposed to the executive committee is we're looking at the bigger picture. Ebony provided us with a lot of information as far as the why, the reason behind it. She also, allowed us to look at what happens if we go over the expenses, what that would look like. Possible corrective action, things like that. So that also came along with our recommendation for option 2. Also, the flexibility, one thing that Ms. Stewart brought up in that meeting too was, the flexibility for working parents and things like that, but also because everybody wants to be a part. We want to be here. We want to do, what we, need to do. And sometimes I know I teach, I'm a parent. So having that option, and especially if the overall bigger picture is so that we will not have to know what it looks like to get a corrective action or some of the other things that Ebony shared with us on what it would look like if we do not follow, those recommendations that was presented so that we can reduce costs. So we're trying to have a happy medium with this so that everybody can participate, but also knowing the bigger picture, looking at the bigger picture and the why. Because the thing that we want to keep in mind is what is best for the council, in our decision making. And so I know that since I've been on the council, this has never come up with expenses. So I do appreciate Ebony and the staff even bringing this to us even before it became a reality. Initially, it was just a thought of being proactive, but now it's reality and these things are actually occurring. And we are, there where we are, we're over. Let's just, be real with it. So that was one of the main things that we discussed, and this is one of the major reason that we feel that option 2 will be the best, because we want to consider that. Okay. Any other questions that we may have? We want to, okay. So I just wanted to just throw that out there to kind of reiterate if you wasn't a part of the executive committee meeting this morning. Landon, the chair recognizes you.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I did want to bring a proposal that I thought of with the numbers that we have. As Ms. Ebony stated, the October meeting with this council will be take a lot of voting, come to the plan. However, I am thinking about we should perhaps flip every other month, depending on what the council says, to have the meeting Wednesday on Zoom, and just have perhaps have all the other meetings on Zoom. Reason being, and have the last meeting on Zoom, because if we have the state committee meeting, we can have all 3 meetings on Zoom. Perhaps, perhaps as presented, we have multiple commuting calls from council members. Perhaps if we do all the meetings built up to the final meeting, or if we're going to go with option 2 presented by council, is this best for the commission of this council to think of what is best for us at the end of the day? But I'm ultimately saying perhaps we should do Zoom for almost all the follow-up meetings until the last one, depending on where the council is at with the agenda and how the council is moving. If we need to have an in-person meeting for the follow-up meetings before the big quarterly meeting, we should perhaps have them on Zoom. Or if the council wants to keep it at 2, that would be plausible as well. But I thought perhaps having all the follow-up meetings on Zoom to prevent multiple commuting for all meetings, and perhaps saving council money on commuting. That is my proposal to this council. As I present this to the council, I have everyone think. I am open to opinion, but I ultimately think this proposal could help with commuting costs for everybody.
Thank you so much, Landon, for that. Do we have any other questions? Or anyone wants to address? Go ahead.
I think what and Landon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what Landon is proposing is to have 3 meetings virtually and then have the October meeting in person. Is that what you're proposing, Landon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is an additional option that he wants to put on the table for the council to consider, having 3 virtual meetings and 1 in person. The 1 in-person meeting will be in October.
And just to clarify, this is in 2027, correct?
I'm sorry,
This will begin next year?
this will begin July 2026.
Okay, gotcha. So in lieu of meeting in person in July, we would fully online beginning in July.
I think that's his
Okay,
recommendation.
just I'm gonna clarify.
Yeah, based on his recommendation, it would be July virtual, October would be in person based on what Ebony said.
Okay.
And then January and April would also be virtual. Just clarifying.
We have a pending motion already. We have to take care of this one first, and then we can consider what landed the other option. So any questions on the pending motion? Okay, the chair recognizes you, Mr. Dillon.
don't have a question. I just have a comment. The executive committee meeting earlier, it was brought up that the virtual meetings, those who wanted to attend in person could still attend in person. They just would not be eligible for any type of expense reimbursement and no meals provided. Is that all correct?
Yes.
So, for those that still wanted to come here, still coming.
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Billings. That's important because I think that many were confused with that the last time as well. You're still able to meet in person. That's not being taken away. Thank you. The chair recognizes Landon.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. As I have just, perhaps the council, I want to bring this to executive council's meeting. Perhaps if we're wanting to attend a virtual as well, for those who would still like to meet in person, perhaps we could get a group, perhaps look into hotels, perhaps wanting to provide a lower rate for council members who want to attend in person. As to it would not count on the council, it would fall to the person to pay full expenses, but perhaps give them a lower rate for the night they will stay at hotels. As I attended policy and partners making, which is one of the funding that the council provides. Perhaps the council can look into having perhaps a lower rate for council members if they do want to attend in person, to perhaps lower costs for council members. Not fully saying that let me clarify, the cost will still be on the member, but perhaps finding a way to help in medium, perhaps lowering the cost for council members.
Okay. Thank you, Landon, for those suggestions. Is there any public comment? All right, the question is, the executive committee recommends option number 2, which is 2 in-person and 2 virtual meetings as the new meeting schedule starting in July 2026. We'll have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion, when your name is called, say yes. If you're opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Stephanie, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Allen,
I'll abstain.
Ms. Allen abstain. Dr. Baravecchio,
Abstain.
Dr. Baravecchio abstain. Ms. Bayham? Yes. Ms. Bayham, yes. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, yes. Mr. Billings?
Yes.
Mr. Billings, yes. Mr. Blanchky?
Yes.
Mr. Blanchky, yes. Mr. Boynton? Ms. Sashri? No. Ms. Sashri, no. Ms. Cream?
Yes.
Ms. Cream, yes. Mr. Doyle?
Sorry, abstain.
Mr. Doyle abstain. Ms. Hayno?
Yes.
Ms. Hayno, yes. Mr. Hanks?
Abstain.
Mr. Hanks abstain. Ms. Harmon? Kelly Dooley? Mr. Macaluso?
Yes.
Macaluso, yes. Dr. Meta? Ms. Nguyen? Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, yes. Ms. Stewart? Ms. Tanner?
Abstain.
Tanner abstain. Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, yes. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Ms. Shu. Ms. Shu abstained.
It's 1 day, 6 abstentions.
Okay, the guests have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you, council members. The next item of business is the executive director's report. The chair recognizes Ebony Haven for the report.
Good morning, everybody. My report is the gray report, your handouts. I'm not gonna read the full report, of course. I'll just make some highlights. The first thing I do wanna highlight is your appropriations, and this is something that I shared in the executive committee. That for FY 26 or the federal fiscal year 26, we are funded at level funding. So when this report was written, the council hadn't received the second installment of funding yet for FY 26. But since that time, we have received our second installment. And so I really it's really important for me to note that that second installment was not quite the $1.38 million that we normally receive. So I didn't mention this last year because the reduction that they gave us was pretty minimal, but I do want to mention it now because we did have another reduction. And if this is something that's going to be consistent, I just want to make sure you all are aware. So last year for FY 25, our funding was reduced by $3,290. So we received like 1.37 million. Again, I didn't mention that because that was minimal. However, for the second installment that we received, which was our full allotment, we got $1.36 million. And so our funding was reduced by another $9,150 for a net reduction of $12,440. So just keep in mind that as costs continue to rise, our funding for our councils is decreasing. And so I just want to point out, it wasn't just the Louisiana Council. All the councils across the board have received a reduction in funding. And some councils as much as like $76,000 for those larger allotment states like California. And so our reduction was $12,440. And so when we're looking at administrative costs, I just want to mention that one of the things that we pay for are our National Association on councils for developmental disabilities. We pay them dues every year. The dues that we pay them are about $11,000. So when we're getting a reduction in our federal funding, that $12,000 could have been used to cover that. So I just kind of want to put things into perspective whenever we're thinking about administrative costs, because even though they are reducing our funding for their administrative costs, they're not increasing the percentage of your funding that we're allowed to use towards administrative costs. So I just want to kind of highlight that, that we didn't receive that $1.38 million that we normally receive for appropriation. The other thing I want to highlight is staff changes. There are currently 2 program monitor positions that are open. Now, I just mentioned administrative costs. So one of the things that we did internally was to look at our staff and to determine whether or not we needed 2 program monitors, because administrative cost salaries and benefits are a part of your administrative costs. Internally, we looked and we felt like we could operate effectively and efficiently with 7 staff members. So we decided not to fill that second program monitor position, and that will also reduce some of your administrative costs as well. The next thing I wanted to highlight was LACAN. I know that our chair already mentioned the LACAN leaders and the FHF directors in her report. But I also want to extend a great big thank you to our LaKen leaders. They work so hard in making sure that our roundtables run smoothly. And I want to thank our Families Hope and Family Centers and their staff, their executive directors for doing a job well done in this season for our roundtables. We hosted 9 regional roundtables across the state. They were both in person and virtual. Some of them had hybrid. And we had a total of 364 participants. And of those, we had 11 legislators who attended, our legislative assistants who attended those roundtables. And out of those 364, 9 were, I calculated wrong when I did my report. We actually had 9 council members that were in attendance, as well as 2 members that provided testimony at those roundtables. So I just want to give a shout out to those members individually. And although Ms. Constance Alphonse has not officially been appointed yet, I do want to recognize that she was one of those members. Ms. Constance Alphonse, Dr. Patty Baravecchio, Aiden Blunsky, Jude Boynton, Liam Doyle, Jill Kano, Brooke Stewart, Renata Washington, and Karen Shue. And I do want to send a special shout out to both Aiden and Brooke for providing testimonies at our roundtables, and our chair for not only attending her regional roundtable for Region 5, but she was on 4 of our regional roundtables. So I do want to just give a shout out because it's important that our council members are at our roundtables. This is your advocacy agenda. And we get excited when we see our council members at our yellow shirt days and at legislative visits and at our roundtables. So again, thank you guys so much for showing up for us. I also wanted to mention that the LaKen leader vacancy in Region 4 has been filled. Our new LaKen leader is Miss Erica Joseph, and we sent out an LADDC news just introducing her. So she'll be reaching out to those members who are in Region 4. I know some of our new members who have just been appointed recently, Mr. Landon Hayes, Miss Ashley Allen, and Miss Julia Tanner. They're all in Region 4. So just be on the lookout for Erica Joseph. She'll be contacting you all soon if she hasn't already done so. And lastly, for the LaKen highlight, I just want to make sure that I mention that it's important for our council members to keep in contact with our LaKen leaders. Again, they're working so hard just to make sure that the council members are informed about our yellow shirt days, our LaKen alerts that are going out, and just checking in so that you guys are aware of what's going on in the disability community. So it's important that we keep in contact with them. And if they call you and they have to leave a message, please contact them back. We've just gotten some reports that they've been having some issues getting in contact with some of our council members. So again, they're a great resource for information and just trying to keep you informed about your advocacy agenda and important issues that affect our disability community. The last thing I want, it's not on my report, but I do want to mention, now that our new members are officially appointed, some of our new members, I'll be sending out information for orientation. Again, orientation will be in the lunch and learn format. And since we're in session currently, it'll be really difficult for me to do it now. Session ends June 1st. So I'll have those orientation sessions throughout the month of June. And it'll be a total of 5 sessions instead of 1 all-day meeting that we used to have. And then the first 4 sessions will be 1 hour long for that lunch and learn. And then the last session will be conducted by our parliamentarian, Ms. Nicole Learson. And that one will be 2 hours. So again, I'll send information out about that. And if you guys have any questions, I'm ready.
Thank you, Ebony. Are there any questions from council members on the report? Just to add, council members, please ask questions. Ebony is so helpful. The staff is helpful. If you have any questions or need any guidance on LaCan or anything, please don't hesitate to, reaching out to the, staff, Ebony, all that you see here, or myself. Working together. Thank you, Ebony, once again. The report requires no action and will be placed on file. The next item of business is the budget report. Chair recognizes Ebony again for the report.
Okay, the budget report is in your packets. I think it's on white paper, yes. So I'm not gonna go over it line by line. If you guys have questions, definitely ask, but there are a couple of things that I want to highlight. The expenditures for the full first and second quarters are there, and then for the third quarter. So for the third quarter, there are a couple of things. Under operating services in February, you'll notice that there was a really large increase in our expenses. And that is because we were having a lot of issues getting our rent payments paid. So number one, in January, we got new office management. So we went from one office management that was here in December when we moved in, and then we went to a new one. They were not entered in the state Louisiana system as a state vendor. So that took a while for them to get their state vendor number and everything, and for them to get set up in the system. So that is why you see that large increase right there, because we were behind about 4 months in our rent payments. And so we had to pay that. Additionally, the moving company had the same issues. The moving company obviously moved us in December, but they were not a state vendor. So it took them a while to become a state vendor. And so that payment was delayed as well. And then the last thing I want to kind of mention, I always like to mention the things in red. You'll see in supplies, we had a credit for $63. That's due to, we ordered something that didn't get delivered. I think it was a computer charger, and then they offered us a credit. And that is all the highlights that I have. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer, Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ebony. Any questions? Ms. Hale, the chair recognizes you.
Hold on. What? Okay, so we're looking at the third quarter, like we're reviewing third quarter data, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's January, February, and March, June.
All right. Okay, I see it in black and white. My bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hano. Any other questions from council member? Hearing none, the report requires no action and it will be placed on file. Okay, you're going to take a recess. If there's no objection, the meeting will recess for 10 minutes. Hearing none, the meeting is at recess and we will come back at 11:10. All right, it is now 11:11. The meeting will come to order. The next item of business is the report from the Act 378 Subcommittee. The chair recognizes Ms. Bambi for the report.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
I apologize for the delay. I wasn't expecting to speak until after lunch, so it caught me off guard, but I'm glad to be here. Good morning. The Act 378 Subcommittee met on April 15th. We do not have any recommendations for the council to consider at this time. During the meeting, we reviewed fiscal year 26 third quarter data for programs within the Office for Citizens with Developmental Disabilities and Behavioral Health. Kelly Monroe from the ARC for the Office of Aging and Adult Services program was unable to attend the meeting, but she did provide a report to review. All reports can be found linked on in our committee agenda on the council's meeting webpage if you would like to review. It was also reported that all local governing entities are currently on target with their expenditures for individual and family support, consumer care resources, supported living, and flexible family funds. South Central Human Service District, which is in Region 3, was allowed to the opportunity to share a few success stories with the committee to provide a connection and clear outlook on how the services benefit families in their area. So OCDD provided a follow-up on the concerns we expressed with the excessive use of the other category in the ISF, which is the Individual Family Support Expenditure Report, and the potential for inaccuracies. To address this concern, OCDD had added 7 new categories to provide for a better description of the participants' requests. And the 7 categories are summer, fall, holiday activity, day program, supervised independent living, therapy, medication and related supplies, lodging and travel, and extermination services. Lastly, OCDD was made aware of an ongoing concern with several families' unhappiness with the wait time for the individual family support request results when the request has been submitted by support coordination. The committee asked that OCDD address this concern by creating a structured timeline for request submissions for all support coordination agencies. Mr. Herman Bigner with OCDD stated that he will ensure this concern is addressed in the next LGE support coordination quarterly meeting and provide us with an update for next quarter. And if I may, I was on this is Bambi doing like not my scripted speech, but I was on a meeting with some people from Texas Disability Rights, or Texas SEAL, and they asked me if I was on the DD Council, and I told them that I was on it for over a decade, but no longer on it. But I chaired this ad hoc committee for Act 378, which, for those of you who don't know, this act was enacted in 1989, and I told them about the funding that was overseen by this act and those type of things, and they were so impressed that Louisiana had this type of state general funds that was so flexible. They don't have that in Texas. That does not mean that Texas doesn't have other things, but the fact that advocates of think my math is right, 37 years ago, advocated for this funding, and we still have it today. I think it demonstrates the importance of this council and the importance of the work that you're doing to continue. So if anyone is interested in more about the Act 378 and being involved in the committee, just let your staff or your chairperson know. And we'd love to get more people involved.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Bambi.
Hey, one second.
Are there any questions from council members on the report? The chair recognizes Ms. Hano.
Okay, thank you. Bambi, like, I've refreshed my memory, or I don't even know if this came up, but how did I'm guessing OCDD staff, maybe not, come up with these 7 categories, like that other concept, other is these specific 7 things, like, and in my mind, when you were talking, and I could be way off base, but is it like a trial and error thing? Nope, on mute.
And you're muted.
So my understanding, Jill, is that when they looked at why there was so much in the category of other, and they actually looked at the individual items, that they realized that they should have been in categories such as these. So by looking at, like, examining what was being put in other, then they were able to say, oh, if we had a category labeled and they had in these 7 categories came up, like, much of the things that were putting in the other category could have gone into these 7 that they came up with.
Okay, so if they find, like, is this something, like, I don't even know what my ask is, like, but okay, like, if it's still an issue, will they create more categories? Or is that too technical?
Well, so you're asking if they could create more categories?
Yeah.
I think they would. I mean, OCDD has been very open. I mean, they were open. They listened to our concern of the large amount that's in other and why weren't they in categories, and they made this change. So
Okay.
I think they will be open if once we review the data for the coming year and see if there's still concerns, they would be open to that. I can't speak for them, but they have always been open to listening to what the committee requests.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Jill. Any other questions from council members?
Frank has his hand raised. He's done.
Frank. The count, the chair recognizes Mr. Frank.
Hi, I was just wondering, how would I go about applying for it? Do I just go through any of those categories? Do I just apply through my support coordinator, or do I call y'all?
So this program that specifically that we're talking about for, they go through the human service districts. So whatever human service district, the region you're in, there's a human service district or authority in every region. So you can make requests either through your support coordinator, or you can make requests at the directly to the human service district. And there is a committee that looks at all requests and determines if they meet a certain level of urgency or need, and then they'll fund it as they have funds available based on the request and the need.
Also, how do I go about joining one of those committees too?
Oh, the committee, you can go through your chairperson, or ask the staff or the chairperson, Ms. Washington, and she can make the appointment.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I'll get with you. The chair recognizes Mr. Landon.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Ms. Bambi, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to be sure I'm clarifying this correctly. You said there was concern about the time limit of OCCD request helping. Is that what I'm understanding from the request?
There was a concern on like if somebody, a family would ask for, they had some type of need, and that they needed this individual family support funding, and that it wasn't being processed very timely, like they weren't getting feedback on their requests very timely. So it
There's
was
more
taking,
of them. Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's taking longer than what they thought it should take.
So it's more of a response on time kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was
Thank you,
clear on
Landon.
what the issue is. Thank you.
Thank you, Landon. Any other questions from council members? Any public comment? The report requires no action and will be placed on file. The next item of business is from the planning committee. Chair recognizes Aiden.
Thank you. The FFY 2027 Action Plan Ad Hoc Committee met on Friday, March 20th, 2026, and Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. The draft plan that the committee approved has been included in your packet. This planning committee has one recommendation to present to the full council. The planning committee would like to recommend the full council to consider the draft FFY 2027 plan. During the meeting, the committee kept the funding at its current level for these activities. 1.1.1 Partners in Policymaking, 1.1.2 LACAN, 1.1.3 Advocacy Events, 1.1.7 Youth Leadership Forum, 1.2.1 People First. The committee also added funding to new activities in this 5-year plan. 2.1.2 Early Identification at 10,000, 2.2.2 Transportation Study at 45,000, 2.2.3 Emergency Plans at 50,000, 3.1.3 Transition Planning at 59,000, 3.1.4 Childcare Training at 50,000, 3.2.1 Job Fair at 45,000. After reviewing and approving the draft, the committee mentioned to send the draft FY 2027 plan to the full council for consideration and then adjourned. On behalf of the planning committee, I move that the council approve the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. Because the motion is coming from a committee, it does not require a second. And you place it on this. This thing.
So is this a motion that we're actively? I guess that they're actively making now. Yeah. Okay. So we need a second. I don't think.
It's coming from the planning committee, right?
Well, they didn't make that well, he just made it on behalf of the planning committee, but they didn't make the motion in the committee. What motion did they make? They just made a motion to send the draft plan to the.
So they're not recommending.
For consider, to
They
send
didn't
it,
recommend that they consider it, but I guess that wording wasn't exactly in there.
So they're not saying, we want you to vote for this. That wasn't the purpose behind their.
It was the purpose, it wasn't the wording that was included.
Okay, so. That, she'll still read that, and it doesn't require a second because it is the committee who's proposing this. Yeah. All right, it is moved that the planning committee recommends approving the 2027 draft action plan. Is there any discussion from council members? Yes, the chair recognizes Brian.
I have one question, for activity 1.2.2. Would the funding for that activity be contained within their current budget, or would there be funding directly allocated for that activity? There's no amount. It's for the families helping families.
Stephanie. Recognize you, Stephanie.
so that, because the funding that is listed in this plan is all of the federal funding, and because the Families Helping Families utilize the state general funds, there's no amount that's listed there because we won't know how much they will get until the state general funds are like approved. So it just says that they will utilize their state general funds.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussions from council? Any public comment? Right. Question is on the planning committee recommends approving the 2027 draft action plan. We will have a roll call vote. If you are in favor of the motion, when your name is called, say yes. If you are opposed, say no. If you abstain, say abstain. Stephanie, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Alan?
I'm gonna abstain.
Alan abstain. Dr. Baravecchio?
Yes.
Dr. Baravecchio, yes. Ms. Bayham? Abstain. Ms. Bayham abstain. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, yes. Mr. Billings?
Yes.
Mr. Billings, yes. Mr. Blanchky?
Yes.
Mr. Blanchky, yes. Ms. Sachin,
Yes.
Ms. Asher, yes. Ms. Crane,
Yes.
Ms. Crane, yes. Mr. Doyle,
Abstain.
Mr. Doyle abstain. Ms. Fana,
Yes.
Ms. Fana, yes. Mr. Hanks,
Yes.
Mr. Hanks, yes. Ms. Harmon, Ms. Kelly Ederly, Mr. Macaluso,
Yes.
Mr. Macaluso, yes. Dr. Meta, Ms. Wynn, Mr. Smith,
Yes, sorry.
Mr. Smith, yes. Ms. Stewart, Ms. Tanner,
Abstain.
Ms. Tanner abstained. Mr. Taylor, Mr. Williams, of you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor.
You, Eric, can you hear us?
Yes.
That a vote yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Taylor, yes. Mr. Williams,
Abstain.
Mr. Williams abstained. Ms. Shu, Ms. Shu abstained.
That's 11 yeas and 6 abstentions, 0 nays. Yeah.
The yeses have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you, members. The next item of business is the report from the Self-Determination Community Inclusion Committee. The chair recognizes Jill Hayno for the report.
Hi, y'all. Okay, give me a 1 minute. So, good morning. I'm sorry, guys. The Self-Determination Committee met on maybe Friday, April 1st, and the report is rather lengthy. So I would like to request that Stephanie provide the committee report for me this morning.
Joe. The Self-Determination and Community Inclusion Committee met on April 1st and does not have any recommendations to present to the council. We did receive an update from Gary Williams with the Office of Aging and Adult Services, or OAAS. Mr. Williams reported OAAS is continuing to contract and meet bi-weekly with HCBS Strategies to do a full review and revamp for the Community Choices waiver to create a more needs-based wait list and a continuum of care program for the participants. OAAS are hoping by June they will be in a position where they can make recommendations to CMS and Medicaid on how they plan to move forward. Mr. Bernard Brown from the Office of Citizens with Developmental Disorders Disabilities and Mr. Brian Bennett from Medicaid were unable to attend the meeting and provide their report, but they are both here today and will provide their updates at the full council. We also discussed the contractual activities under Goal 1 and 2 in our plan. I encourage you to review the status of planned activities document in your meeting packet for updates on those initiatives. You can also find reports attached to our agenda. During the meeting, the committee also discussed concerns for the council's Women's Health and Sex Education Initiative contracted by LSU. As of April 1st, LSU had just signed both contracts, but had not begun any work towards the goals set for those initiatives. Staff reported that they would provide an update to the full council for us to have an open conversation about our concerns.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any questions from council members on the report? Any public comment? Sorry.
That's okay. Just to give you guys an update, we still have not heard anything from LSU as it relates to the women's health and sex education contract. So we're still waiting to get a report from them on what they've been doing.
Thank you, Rakisha. Okay. The report requires no action and will be placed on file.
No.
Oh, so
How long have we been waiting for like, when did y'all last reach out?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Is the last time I reached out to them. I sent them an email for follow-up. He responded this morning to let me know he's working on it. So don't know what he's working on. But we have been trying to get information from them since day one, which was in October. So yeah, they just, like I say, signed the contract on April the 1st. We just got the contract signed, but they have not done anything or reported that they've done anything that we requested as far as the deliverables. But according to them, they'll have everything done by the end of the contract, which will be September 30th.
This second.
the next item of business is the report from the Education and Employment Committee. The chair recognizes Stephanie for the report.
Good morning, I'm just gonna read the report, that Brooke gave me. She, had to jump off really quick, so I'm gonna just read that. The Education and Employment Committee met on April 8th and has one recommendation to recommend to the full council. The Education and Employment Committee would like to recommend the full council consider writing a letter to Kate Brumley and the boards and commissions to explain that having a representative from Louisiana Department of Education is part of the GD Act. Based on recent information, Brooke says, I do not believe. So Brooke did not believe the motion should move forward. The earlier concern stemmed from a miscommunication and confusion about the council's schedule. The Division of Diverse Learners has affirmed that it values this partnership, is committed to aligning with the responsibilities outlined in the DD Act and the council's priorities, and will ensure representation at meetings either directly or through a proxy. The committee also received updates from Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. The council is currently tracking House Bill 1, which also includes which currently includes level funding for LRS. Pre-ETS participation continues to increase. LRS has staffing contracts with Easter Seals in Shreveport and Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans. An additional contract is being negotiated in Baton Rouge, and there are also 16 third-party cooperative agreements with school districts in place. The WIOA state planning period is underway. Public comment was open on April 10th through Louisiana Works for 15 days and covers vocational rehabilitation, workforce programs, and adult education. A rate adjustment increased the counselor rate from $17.18 to $21.04 per hour, along with a 5% increase for all staff to support recruitment and retainment. Although no representative from LDOE attended the meeting, a written report was provided. Highlights included updates from the Special Education Advisory Panel, information about stakeholder input for the IDEA grant application and public comment opportunities, as well as summaries of legislative proposals related to special education practices. The committee also received updates on contracts related to Goal 3 of the FFY 26 action plan. Members are encouraged to review the quarterly status report, update, and link documents in the agenda for more detail. Did you want to share that? I'm not sure what the wording could be. I'm sorry. If you want me to read it, sure. Okay.
Is there any objections from the council to withdraw the recommendation based on Brooks' updated information? No. Hearing none, the recommendation will be withdrawn for consideration. All right. Any questions from council members on the report? Any public comment? The report requires no action and will be placed on file. The next item of business is standing council member reports. Please refer to the reports in your packet. Our first report is from the Disability Rights of Louisiana. The chair recognizes Mr. Rocker for the report.
She requested to know.
Okay, sorry about that, but okay, right here. Sorry about that.
Lori no longer with the agency. So I'll be giving the report today.
She's with disability, Ashley's with disability
Yes.
rights.
Okay.
But they, Constance Alphonse asked to go first, Ashley. So do you mind if she goes first before you?
That's fine.
Okay,
Sorry about that, Ms. Ashley, but thank you. All right, the chair recognizes Ms. Constance for the report from LSU Human Development Center.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to go first.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, no worries. I would have waited until after. Okay, so for the first quarter for the Human Development Center, just some highlights from within our reports. Our Early Learning Center has trained 70 teachers on healthy management, staying healthy, managing feelings, and helping children learn better. And then they have trainings planned during the summer to be able to train early childhood teachers on inclusion, behavior, and emotions. And our Early Learning Center received an excellent rating from the Department of Education. In our paycheck program under Education Transition and Community Programs, I just wanted to highlight a new program that they are starting called the Leadership Transition Lab. And it's going to be available to school districts from across the state who are interested in improving their transition services that they offer for students with disabilities. So they have a link out right now where district leaders can complete it to show that they have an interest in joining. And then they're going to offer sessions throughout the 26-27 school year to help build district's capacity to be able to do the transition work effectively. So that is very, very exciting. For our WIPA, which works with benefits planning, during the first quarter, they worked with 85 people who received Social Security benefits, and then they gave very detailed benefits planning information to 15 people. And then really just the last highlight I want to make is about our long-term training program. We have the Louisiana Leadership Education and Neurodevelopmental Disabilities program, and it's a program that promotes interdisciplinary training really to support individuals with disabilities across the lifespan and build that workforce capacity. So we have graduate students that are from different areas, OT or occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, but then we also include in this cohort, we include family members of individuals with disabilities as well as individuals with disabilities. And they come together in this interdisciplinary manner and spend 300 hours over 9 months learning about different disability topics. And so on last Friday, April 24th, our 25-26 cohort completed the program. And so we're very proud of the work that they did. We actually get a lot of recommendations from partners in policy making. So several of our trainees this year had participated in partners in policy making. And we do have applications open now. So if any council members are interested in applying to participate, you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Constance. Are there any questions from council members on the report? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, the report requires no action and will be placed on file. Okay, the next item of business is a report from the Disability Rights of Louisiana. The chair recognizes Ms. Tori Rocca. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So I will be giving some of the program updates for Disability Rights Louisiana today. Our client assistance program, which assists people that may have some issues with utilizing LRS, is currently serving 37 clients. Jeannie is currently touring the state, visiting all the regional offices to put a face to the CAP program, as well as meeting with counselors and LRS support staff. In addition, CAP, as a representatives to Disability Rights Louisiana, Bayou Lands Families Helping Families, the statewide ILC, and LDS Employment First Initiative are all coordinating the second Empowerment Through Employment conference. It is scheduled for Tuesday, July 28th from 9 to 4. Be on the lookout for the date announcement soon. When it comes to our community living ombudsman program, we are currently there are 473 publicly funded, privately run IFC/DD facilities housing 3,871 individuals with developmental disabilities across the state. In January and February of 2026 grant year, CLAP Ombudsman made 282 visits to the facilities receiving 160 requests for assistance. And they took action on all of the 160 requests. As a result of these actions, ICF/DD residents had involuntary discharges prevented, got opportunities to visit with family, received appropriate medical care, received updates on their waiver status, received information on their rights, received improved personal care, and received improvement to their physical environment. Further actions by Ombudsman Shirley Brown resulted in the provisional loss of an ICF license and the arrest of a staff member fired for assaulting a resident. When it comes to our supportive independent living program, which the supported independent living program has assisted 24 people with obtaining and maintaining appropriate and necessary support so they can remain in the community on their waivers. SciLab advocates assisting clients in switching support coordination agencies, obtaining a new service provider, securing housing, relocating to a better living environment, and connecting with their families. In one instance, SciLab assisted a client to relocate to a new apartment after having a bed bug issue. The new apartment was not fully accessible for him, specifically the bathroom. SciLab assisted that client and his support team to obtain landlord approval, funding, and a contractor to modify the bathroom. The contractor has been hired, and the full notification should be complete in the next few weeks. Going right along to our FAIR program, which is the Financial Access, Inclusion, and Resources Program, which provides financial coaching and case management services to formerly incarcerated people with disabilities and overcoming employment and resource barriers in order to achieve long-term financial security. Over the past year, from March 1st, 2025 to February 28th, 2026, the FAIR program helped 99 individuals by providing information and referral services. We also provided intensive financial coaching and case management to 53 active clients. We have saw positive results in 3 key areas that impact our clients, which are long-term economic stability, income growth, debt reduction, and employment. And we achieved these results by strengthening partnerships, targeted outreach, resource coordination, including and increasing program visibility. We continued building relationships with key partners in housing, workforce, legal, and reentry organizations, and established new connections. We participated in community and outreach events by setting up resource tables to expand our visibility and reach a broader audience. Additionally, we worked closely with frontline service providers to ensure our clients could access the resources they need. Finally, we increased awareness of FAIR services through presentations to courts and clinical settings to connect more clients with our services and their reentry process. Lastly, in recognition of Second Chance Month, Debbie Weinberg was a speaker and a panelist at an event hosted by the New Orleans Reentry Task Force Legal Subcommittee, where she educated employers and HR professionals with information and legal considerations regarding hiring justice impacted individuals with disabilities. In just a few highlights on some of our current litigation, and when it comes to Chisholm, the current focus of this case is the receipt of ABA services for children who are on a wait list for a waiver and the evaluation required to qualify for ABA. We have been meeting with LDH on a monthly basis regarding the issues in this case. It is still possible that this case will become active in court again in the next few months as we identify points of non-compliance. When it comes to AJ versus Gee, this case addresses children who have been approved to receive specialized nursing services in home who are not receiving what they are approved for. The settlement agreement was extended to March 2026 and will naturally terminate at that time. We are currently putting together a letter with information for families to inform them of the end of this case. And lastly, Cooper, this case addresses the wait list for people who are sitting in jail to transfer to Eastern Louisiana mental health system after a finding of NOBRJ or incompliance. We have been monitoring the monthly reporting regarding the wait list as well as requesting additional documents. We are currently working under provisions from the most recent settlement agreement as well, which provided for the creation of a stakeholders group for community-based placements. And in addition to casework, our legal team also conducts regular monthly monitoring of facilities and conducts investigations as necessary. We conduct monthly monitoring visits to the state-operated mental health hospital in Jackson, Louisiana, Eastern Louisiana Mental Health System. We also conduct monthly monitoring visits to mental health facilities in North Louisiana. Arising from our monitoring, we discovered that juveniles were being taken to Louisiana Behavioral Health in Shreveport for acute care, and in some cases were remaining at the hospital well beyond the course of treatment concluded. The children left for extended periods of time were all in DCFS custody, and DCFS was unable to identify a placement. While that is a separate issue, we are looking at the failure to provide these children with an education while they sat waiting for months in the hospital. We advocated with the director of LBH, and the facility has now hired a teacher to be on staff to provide educational services to any juvenile in the hospital. While it doesn't address the larger issue of children being left in a hospital setting for longer than medically necessary, it does provide these kids with access to educational services in the interim.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ashley, for that report. Are there any questions from council members? You're recognized, Chief.
First, I want to appreciate, I think, the disability rights, they did a lot of work. I saw many programs and did a lot of work. I just want to learn how the ombudsman work for the facility care for the ICFs for DV people. How the ombudsman, how the program running, how they make a decision to visiting, or they just monthly visiting or monitoring or how it work.
So mostly it's from referrals, so people call in, but where we have mandated access to go in these group homes and other ICFs if needed. So but they mostly come from people calling in and then we go out.
Based on the calling on the just the case, right? Just you. Any
I'm sorry.
based on the request.
Based on based on the referral.
So you're visiting, or you scheduled visiting to the facility, right? So you go there to just check to try to investigate what happened.
Yes.
So the ombudsman, they work the volunteer or just your attorney?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you that well.
I mean, there's ombudsmen, they are volunteer or they are attorneys under your organization?
Oh no, they're not attorneys.
Are they employed under?
Yes.
DRLA? Yeah.
They're employees of DRLA.
So what's the criteria? So you consider the request is you'll take it or not?
That I will have to get back to you on. I don't know the exact criteria. I just know we usually get referrals and people call in to tell us there's a problem. But I can go back and ask them and get back to you on that.
Any other questions from council members? Landon, the chair recognizes you.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. So Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all said we had a separate issue, outside the main issue. You said kids were being held past the, I guess, required, time that they were able to be held in the hospital's captivity, right?
Yes.
So we had that issue resolved, correct?
It's still ongoing, but for right now, they got a teacher in place to at least give them some type of education while they're in there. But it's still on.
If you don't mind me. It's still ongoing, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, it's
But
still.
what I was going to ask was is there anything further that we are looking to do, y'all are looking to do into that issue? I may ask.
There's still, like I said, it's still an ongoing process. So, they're looking to get that resolved.
Yeah, okay. So y'all looking to further get that issue fixed? You know what I'm
Yeah.
understanding? Sorry, it's kind of hard to hear. Yeah, for some
Yeah.
reason my internet connection's kind of slow. Thank you. Got nothing further.
Any other Questions from council members? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, the report requires no action and will be placed on file. If there is no objection, the meeting will now recess for lunch. Hearing none, the meeting is now at lunch at 12:07. And we will come back at 1:07. Thank you.